Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Madam Director, I'm concerned about the leaks last week of the fact that the details of intelligence that's being shared with the Ukrainians, both in terms of sources and methods, alerting the Russians what we know, perhaps how we know it, and also feeding Vladimir Putin's paranoia about conflict with the West. Are you actively pursuing the source of those leaks from last week?
Thank you, Senator. We obviously always actively pursue any information that we have that indicates that anybody may be disclosing classified information, without authorization.
Well, I hope you will pursue that because I think sometimes leaks are embarrassing. We don't worry too much about them, but I think in this case they were harmful, and I hope that this will be an active investigation. A question to both of you. We all believe that the intelligence community did a really excellent job of predicting the invasion, alerting the world as to what was going on, what the disposition of Russian troops were, the involvement of Belarus, all of that. What we missed was the will to fight of the Ukrainians and the leadership of Vladimir Zelensky. And we also missed that in Afghanistan. Within 12 months, we missed the will to fight. We overestimated the Afghans' will to fight, underestimated the Ukrainians' will to fight. I realize will to fight is a lot harder to assess than number of tanks or volume of ammunition or something. But I hope that the intelligence community is doing some soul searching about how to better get a handle on that question, because we had testimony in this committee and in the intelligence committee that Kyiv was going to fall in 3 or 4 days and the war would last 2 weeks. And that turned out to be grossly wrong. Are you looking at this question of how to assess will to fight and domestic leadership?
Yes, Senator, you heard from General Barrier, obviously, a number of things that DIA is doing. For the intelligence community writ large, we have a process at the National Intelligence Council taking a look at these issues. It is, I would say that it's a combination of will to fight and capacity, in effect, and the two of them are issues that are, as you indicated, quite challenging to provide effective analysis on, and we're looking at different methodologies for doing so and trying to
Barrier,
get some advice,
this is your lane, assessing military capability, and a big part, as you testified earlier, the reason the Ukrainian war is going the way it is that the Ukrainians are fighting for their land and the Russians don't have the same will to fight. I hope that this is something you're focused upon because, again, I think we failed on this question in Afghanistan. And in Afghanistan, we had testimony over and over that the government would last 6 months or a year beyond the departure of U.S. troops. It lasted minus 2 weeks. Is this something that you're focused upon?
Senator, I am focused on it, and I really appreciate this dialogue because I think there's an important nuance that we have to discuss. One is the will to fight, and the other is the capacity to fight. So in closed briefings, we talked about this capacity to fight, and given the correlation of forces that the Russians had and what the Ukrainians had, it was the thought of senior analysts that it wasn't going to go very well for a variety of factors. But there was never an intelligence community assessment that said the Ukrainians lacked the will to fight. Those assessments talked about their capacity.
Yeah, but there wasn't an assessment that they did either. The assessment was Ukraine would be overrun in a matter of weeks. That was grossly wrong.
Grossly wrong, but not a question of will to fight. It was capacity at that time, as the DNI just said. So we are taking a look at that.
Are you saying the Ukrainians' will to fight hasn't been an important part of this struggle?
No, I'm not saying that. I think it's been everything.
And that's what we didn't know, correct?
Well, we assessed their capacity to face the size of the Russian forces that were amassed on their border was going to be very difficult for them.
Well, all I'm saying is the intelligence community needs to do a better job on this issue.
I think the intelligence community did a great job on this issue, Senator, and we will.
General, how can you possibly say that when we were told explicitly Kyiv would fall in 3 days and the Ukraine would fall in 2 weeks? You're telling me that was accurate intelligence?
So we were really focused on the Russian forces at the time, and so when we backed this up,
we were wrong about that too, weren't we? We overestimated the Russians.
Well, the intelligence community did a great job in predicting and talking through the timeline.
And I acknowledge that
how
at
the
the
Russians
beginning of
will
my
do that.
question. I understand that. Yes, they did. What they failed at was predicting what was going to happen after Russia invaded.
So as I look at the totality of the entire operation, I think the enormity rests on the predictions of what the Russians were going to do versus whether or not the Ukrainians were going to be successful.
Well, if you don't concede there was a problem on this, then we've got a problem.
Senator, I didn't say that. We are going to take a hard look at this, but I think in the totality of the entire operation, there were a lot more successes than failures.
I won't argue that point. I'm just trying to make a point that I think there was a major issue that we missed that had a significant influence on how this has unfolded. And had we had a better handle on the prediction, we could have done more to assist the Ukrainians earlier. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.